Hey, what's happening, guys? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. I hope you're doing well, mate. Welcome back to your comments, where I answer your questions and react to your comments that were previously posted on my community page. I've already done an episode of this series, and I will continue to do this series, but it's important that I notify you guys now that this is, after today, becoming a members-only series here on the channel. I notice how the appetite for it is not massive in terms of sort of perhaps generic channel viewers, but a lot of people are really into this content. And a lot of those people are the sort of hardcore fans that a lot of them are members anyway of the channel. So I want to give something back. Obviously, becoming a member of the channel, you get like a badge and emojis for comments and stuff. But it's about time I offered more. So we'll do this series. So thank you for sticking with me, gang. Hopefully you enjoy I was gonna say my insight, but I suppose my responses to your questions and whatnot. And yeah, man, let's get into it. So thank you for joining me. Melvin Lim says, "Hey Jan, what's Mia's routine every day? And will she make more appearances in the future? Feline aside, is the management starting to panic now we've lost one of our three key players?" Mia's routine is the same. She wakes up in the morning, she sleeps in the bed, I feed her, she takes a dump usually, then goes outside to play. Yeah, when she was, because now she's an outdoor cat, she doesn't really try and bother me when I'm in the office anymore. So if you want to see Mia, follow me on Instagram at FootballYannick. And I think, will the management panic? I don't think we'll panic. We've still got a very good squad. You could say we're missing goals, and when returning injured players come back, they'll feel pretty strong. I just did a video on Lukaku, which is a little bit of a panic situation, so go watch that if you want to talk about potential panicking. But otherwise, I don't think so. Drew Carpenter says, "Jan, greetings from the USA." Greetings to you, mate. "How much should fans be looking into this underwhelming start? Yes, we've controlled possession and created chances, but no end product still remains." Yeah, man, tough, real tough. Sort of echoes of Chelsea of old. But we look like we know what we're doing, and we didn't have that for basically all last season. Like, Sterling looks good. We can, for times look completely like we're going to dominate. Like, let's break it down. Liverpool, even Liverpool correspondents are saying they'll probably feel quite happy to take the point away from Stamford Bridge. So our opening game against a well-established Klopp regime Liverpool, we were probably the better side. And then we got David Moyes at West Ham. It's underwhelming, it's poor, and if that happens later in the season, it's probably more of a crisis. But I don't think we should read too much into it. I mean, if we lose to Luton at Stamford Bridge, then we can start having serious conversations. John Thorpe asks, "Do you think we need to add some experienced players to like the young squad, essentially?" It's tough, isn't it? Because we've been seeing Thiago Silva play, but like, for example, let's take these two sample size games. The only real time I would talk about experience actually having an effect is the opening 15-20 minutes against Liverpool, when it looked like Liverpool were just going to completely cut through. Salah's goal was offside, which would have made it 2-0. Like, that is probably when you need an experienced head, but that was only a portion of the first game, and I don't think experience at West Ham changes what's going on. It's really just like clicking and coaching. So I can't really say for the moment. It's yet to be seen, but possibly. But I think while we're not in Europe as well, I think we'll probably be okay. Mr. Harry Chelsea says, "Hi, what player would you like to see Chelsea sign to bolster our attack? Think we need someone similar to Nkunku who can play as a second striker, but there's not many options out there. Alvarez would be amazing, but no chance of that." I guess you mean Julian Alvarez, the striker of Man City. He ain't going anywhere, mate. Any ideas? A second striker. It's tough because in theory, like, you could convert any of our players to a second striker, like Gallagher, Chukwuemeka. Even like Sterling. Sterling played false nine for a long period at City for Pep Guardiola. He was in the striker spot. Certainly Mudrik's got the profile to be a second striker. It's really, I think it's creativity. I think it's someone that's going to just create chances, enough chances to eventually, our like misfiring forwards get a goal or two and their confidence comes back and things start clicking. So I don't think it's. I think Chelsea. Matt Law said today on the London is Blue podcast that Chelsea want to prioritise this creative attacker, and then maybe a goal scorer, and that could be a striker. But again, we'll see. If we don't score against Luton, we're in trouble. At Mike FR says, what do you think is the reason why Chelsea haven't played in the 4-2-3-1 in the first two matches? Maybe because Nkunku is out, so we don't have a number 10. Could Maatsen be used there? And now that Carney's been injured. Well, Maatsen did play there in pre-season, and he looked quite good. He linked up well with Jackson. I think I think because we haven't got the midfield ready. Lavia and Caicedo aren't ready now. I don't know if we're going to play a 4-3-3 with Lavia and Caicedo, but these kind of profiles of players that can, Lavia plays deep, but he's more take the ball and release it quite quickly, and Caicedo is off the ball kind of stuff, isn't he? But I think because they're not ready to play a back two, I think it's centre backs in midfield because Thiago Silva, Tuchel, Potter, everyone wants to protect him in the back three. And dude's like, 39 next month or something? In a matter of days? Makes sense. Dizassi's recent performance doesn't make us feel much better about playing him in a back two. Well, I think Badiashiel's training again. So you could play the fabled two left-footer partnership of Badiashile and Levi Colwill. And yes, Levi Colwill hasn't been brilliant yet, but he's also been playing this weird hybrid role where he goes to left back and whatever, or left wing back or whatever he does. So to play those, to drill, like I said it on one of my shorts on my socials, drill Caicedo and Enzo and then just play double pivot and then start the two left footers behind. I think that's why we've been playing a three-back system. Igor asks, do you think we have the usual Chelsea issues this season? High possession and passes in the opposition box, but no conversion. Yeah, I do, a little bit, and that's to be expected because it's going to have to be beaten out of the players. What I do think is that the fitness is way, way better, which breeds confidence when you can run more than the opposition. And the morale is really high still, despite the shaky start. Pochettino's team score goals. There is a little bit of the echoes of previous problems, but I think that will be shaken out of Chelsea, hopefully. Abraham Lincoln asks, do you think Robert Sanchez should be number one, or do you think Chelsea should look at another goalkeeper? I think Sanchez... we need to accept Sanchez is number one for the moment. That's largely because of the goalkeeping coach Ben Roberts that we maintained after Potter's exit. Yeah, he's from Brighton. He loves Sanchez. Sanchez has been given the number one shirt. Chelsea given him a long deal. I think by all accounts that's the plan until it isn't the plan. So yeah, priorities elsewhere. Like these other guys asking about scoring goals. I think Sanchez is the number one. Joe Ben asks, do you reckon Hudson-Odoi has any hope of a return given he's not been transferred yet and Carney just got injured? Great question, man. Maybe he's willing to accept a pay cut in line with the new structure. What, you mean signing a new deal? I'm Welsh, but the thought of signing Brennan Johnson makes me queasy. Well, fair enough. It's really interesting. This is what Matt Law said on the London's Blue Pod. Maybe you heard that as well. He's training with the under-21s, Hudson-Odoi. He's made the decision, I want to go, and Chelsea's like, yeah, you should go. But no one wants to pay only £8 million. Remember, not long ago, Bayern were going to pay £70 million, and now people won't pay £8 million. I think it's largely because it's the wages. He's on 120k a week. The Bayern clubs would probably want to pay him half of that. It is an interesting thing, isn't it? Because Hudson-Odoi... Matt Law reckons it's too late. If he was on the pre-season tour and showed a little bit, then maybe you could suddenly consider him because Bayer Leverkusen played him as a number 10 briefly before he hit the bench. So I don't know what that says about his number 10 playing capacity or capabilities. But yeah, it's an interesting question. It does make you think. Just stick him in there. Has he got 1 year left in his deal? I think he might have 1 year. And with that, you don't want him to look quite good, and then just go somewhere on a free and get a massive signing on fee. So it is a question to be asked, but I don't think he'll be integrated. Caleb asks, Jan, what would you consider a successful decade for CFC? A decade? Well, 5 years of Poch, I'd like to say, or maybe say 3 years of Poch, and if we're not looking like we're actually going to win, 3 years of Pochettino, back in Europe consistently, maybe win a cup. But if we don't look like we're going to like beat Man City and win a title, then upgrade, be relatively ruthless. But that would still represent a really positive tenure for Pochettino. 3 years of, the new wage structure, the new project planning with Project 2030. Chelsea buy satellite clubs, all the plans coming together, and Pochettino sort of sees us closer to that harmony, a little bit up the table. But then the following 7 years, a few 3 or 4 league titles. Hope Pep Guardiola does one, because Bowley, they do want to win titles. That's what they're in there for. So Trent asks, if Lukaku stays, will he get any playing time? Will he want to play at Chelsea? What are your thoughts? Yeah, like Hudson, it's always such a good question, because it makes you think, doesn't it? Because if he doesn't get a transfer, right, he's not going to just be in the first team squad. My glasses are wonky and it's really doing my head in. Wait, what am I going to do like that? If he's not going to get into the first team if he doesn't get this transfer, he'll stay in the under-21s for the moment. But I was thinking about this, like, well, what if it comes to a cup game, Nico Jackson's injured, maybe you got Lukaku on the bench and you start, I forgot the youngster's name, the teenager we bought from Charlton or whatever. I was going to do my head in. Anyway, and then Lukaku comes off the bench, scores a couple of goals, and you think, oh yeah, maybe slowly starts training with the first team again to try and get his value back up for the next summer to try and sell him. I can't call it, bro, but it's an incredible situation. Again, I've done a video on Lukaku, go check it out. Jan, if you were an 18-year-old, sorry, this is from Tommy Cunningham. If you were an 18-year-old high-end prospect and Chelsea came in for you, would you accept knowing you'd be a part of the loan army for a minimum of 2 seasons? I'd rather go the Haaland route, but I don't know. Yeah, it's tough because Chelsea are changing as well. Chelsea before would have given you really high wages and you'd get loans, and it's just like this. It's like career security. Career security, but I don't know if that's the same now. I mean, young players are flocking to Chelsea, so I can't really answer that question without having the pitch from Chelsea that they've given all these youngsters to convince, these like Washington, Santos, Gabriel, Aguchukwu, who's teenager, Chukwuemeka, all these players that are fleeting to Chelsea, these teenagers. So obviously there's a pitch there, Slim Cargo asks, Jan, who would you rather have at Chelsea as a striker, Drogba or Costa? Oh man, Drogba's the king, isn't he? I mean, and Drogba, when you're clicking, I know everyone thinks Drogba's not that prolific as a striker and he's more of a clutch striker, but I'll say Drogba. I mean, I'm thinking Costa because of recency bias. Like, he's played in the Prem more recently and successfully. Like, if you like prime Costa, scores like 20, 25 Premier League goals and wins you games by himself and gets in the heads of opposition. But Drogba did all that. And Drogba as well was amazing defending. Like, I know there's that joke on the Peter Crouch podcast, there's not a better first manner than Didier Drogba on defending corners. Mourinho loved him for that. And it's massive now. I mean, look at what happened with Moyes the other day. I mean, that wasn't the front post, but, defending corners, always in there. You can rely on your striker, just not fazed by big moments. Will score you penalties. Unlike, what happened with Enzo. And, yeah, he'll just... In an attacking team as well. Didn't he score like 29 league goals under Ancelotti in 2010? Like, he scored so many goals, so he can do it. He's not just a good, hard-working striker of clutch moments. He can pop off as well. So I'll say prime Drogba. Don't really know how that was really a discussion, but I made it one. The failed wizard, pineapple and pizza, yeah, yes. Not always, but sometimes. Flop Blue says, are some fans being unrealistic with a top 4 finish? Surely we need to at least a season to bet in the tactics, regardless of us betting. Yeah, Yeah, man. It's naive now for anyone, whether it's mocking rival fans or your fellow fans of your club, to say, "All right, we spent loads of money. We just need to be good," because we've got Manchester United as a case in point for the last decade. How that doesn't work. Yeah, you got to trust the process, man. I did say top six would be target. A lot of people are thinking, don't the players are like, we're not even talking about targets like anything, like and the young Brazilians saying, yeah, Chelsea could go for the title, and all this stuff, but I don't know. And finally, Jim Thomas says, what would be the long-lasting impact for the Saudi League on football? Well, that's very dependent on how long their project lasts for, because China tried to do something similar about 5-6 years ago. They didn't really pop off. Granted, they didn't have the same investment as the PIF. It depends if the TV deals come in for the Saudi League. Your Sky Sports, your TNT Sports, formerly BT, if they start buying out deals for Saudi, and if the youngsters, there's already been a few high-profile youngsters that have gone there, but if youngsters, it's a few things. If the glamour of the Champions League starts to fizzle for one reason or another, if UEFA just screw it up themselves, or time goes on and it just becomes less sexy, which seems mental how the European Cup, that could happen to it, but just say that. And if the TV deals go to the big broadcasters, then yeah, obviously Premier League football is a manifested league annexed onto the Football League, and it's something similar with all the money from the TV broadcast deals, but it's still English football, and it's still, the 100, 110-year-old clubs with illustrious history, tradition, culture, rivalries, bedded into yourself, your father, your grandfather, his father, or whatever, down generations, and that's the tapestry of football's like essence itself. Like that obviously can't be transplanted to Saudi Arabia. They have an amazing or an intense football culture themselves, but it's very different. But the big brands at the moment, the Chelseas, the United, the Liverpools, Arsenals, what have you, they are all steep. They're all over 100-year-old clubs, so it's tough. We'll have to see, but it's where the money goes, isn't it? All right, guys, thank you. If you've enjoyed this kind of content, you can become a member for, I think it's like £1.99 a month. And we'll do a few of these videos a month, and you just support the channel that way, should you want to do so. Of course, the rest of the content will remain free as normal. All right, peace.